over the years in this case. So let's talk a little bit about this. One of the theories is that it was a hired hit.
Well, there's some of the things you've said made me think that. Staging the robbery, you only do that if you're trying to make it look like a robbery, but it's really something else.
Well, and again, these are theories. They're all based on rumors and speculation.
No forced entry means you could have possibly known.
Some people have said they think Bryce was involved in some shady business dealings, possibly through the car dealership. Like, rumors have circulated that it could have been some sort of like mafia or organized crime type of hit.
Laundering money.
May have been laundering money. He may have owed money to someone.
Could have been a big gambler.
Maybe borrowed money to open this dealership. Maybe he wasn't selling what he thought he was going to. I mean, so there's that thought. Or even that when he was living in Mount Airy, people said he had some questionable farm dealings.
Okay.
And that he may have like screwed some farmers out of money, some livestock sales, and that people were pissed off and that this was like a revenge killing.
It sounds like that might have involved a significant amount of money.
And of course, police kind of followed up on those leads, but really didn't find anything substantial to back that up other than just, small town gossip,
speculation,
and chat. Really. The second theory is that it was someone who was familiar with the family. One investigator would come out a couple of years later and say that he did not believe that Troy Hall, the son-in-law, had received a phone call from Virginia at all that night.
Can't they check that?
I don't know about.
Could they?
I don't know about phone records.
Maybe
back
not,
then.
because there's still party lines and things like that, huh?
Right.
Where you just pick up the phone and wait for other people to hang up, or
right, and that may have been the case in
maybe
this
they
area
couldn't
in the
track
70s.
it. Yeah.
I'm not sure, but according to Troy's timeline, he says he didn't get home until 10, which could have given him time to be involved along with his wife.
Okay.
Because he, had gone to the library. He says, I got home at 10. The fact that there were no footprints inside the home shows that maybe it was someone the family knew and that they had taken their shoes off when they came into the house. Like, oh, Come on in, take your shoes off.
Because the house is kept immaculate and they probably didn't let people walk around wet snowshoes.
Again. Also, the fact that there was no struggle, it's as if someone knew the family, because if strangers just burst through the doors on this unsuspecting family,
you're going to be fight mode instantly.
Expect some kind of fight mode, those defense wounds that we talked about. Third theory. It is strange, if you think about it, that the young couple didn't first call police. This kind of goes along with the theory that maybe they're involved. They didn't call the police. And instead of braving going over to the house in the bad weather to see what was going on, they could have easily picked up the phone, called the police. Hey, we got this strange phone call.
The cops probably would have been there quicker.
Probably, because remember, their car wouldn't start.
And then they had to ask the neighbor.
They had to borrow the neighbor to, hey, will you take us and give us a ride?
Or they could have called the cops and then headed over that way.
Or that they go over there and they see this scene before they even found bodies, and it took all of that before they called police. I also think it's strange if you do get a phone call from your mother-in-law. Like, I'm just imagining my mom calling you, hey, someone's breaking in the house, they're trying to kill me, that we would go over there and that you would leave me sitting in a car outside when these alleged attackers could just be out and about.
No, that's kind of stupid. The whole story is really goofy if you think about it.
It is.
If your mom or somebody called me and was like, so-and-so's being attacked, and it's abruptly cut off and I can't get you back, brushing that off as thinking
joke?
that someone's joking is very strange.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't add up necessarily.
And then
The killers maybe were already inside the home waiting for the Durhams to get there, which could explain the element of surprise, maybe the track marks on the carpet.
Right.
I mean, maybe the family settled in, hung out a few minutes before the attackers were like, hey, okay, it's time.
Right.
I gave you the signal. I don't know.
Now, could that be spoiling or walking in on a robbery? Or do you still think,
no, because there was like a half-eaten chicken and they had snacks and drinks. It's like they came home.
Okay, so they'd been
I'm thinking,
there.
okay, well, maybe if these attackers were like hiding upstairs or in the garage or wherever, they gave the family some time to settle in before they were like, hey, here's the hand signal.
Well, if that malfunctioning garage door was real, would be a way someone could gain entry into the home, right?
Right.
Some robber
So that's
types.
interesting. The crime scene obviously was staged, and the whole bathtub thing just seems kind of weird to me. Like, it just seems personal. Like, for example, it wasn't just a random killing, and this is just me thinking on this. If you were going to rob people, you'd likely take a gun.
Yeah, in case you need it.
Or you just strangle all of them. But the drowning in the tub, and this is just my interest in true crime, and I'm no detective or criminologist, but this is just me and my crazy brain, is thinking the drowning in the tub is almost like a personal crime, or it's like sending a message.
Yeah,
and just so unusual. It just doesn't seem random to me.
No, and if
and it just makes me think of if it was like some sort of contract killing, the message like, sleeping with the fishes.
Yeah.
Right. That like the drowning, it just seems really personal. It's very hands-on.
Somebody back in the big city or wherever, whoever he offended or wronged could have been like, introduce him to the rubber ducky.
Yeah, maybe.
That could be his catchphrase. He could be known as the bathtub killer.
There could have been like the ivory soap killer. We didn't even know.
Exactly. And you'll never find him because it rinses so
the Irish Spring just
clean.
Yeah, down the drain.
No, but it also could be, I was thinking about going along with staging the scene and doing like this kind of over the top scene here with these bodies. Instead, like, say if it's robbers and you surprise them, even if they are already there and they come out, they're going to be thinking about getting the hell out of there. Right? They're going to be thinking about even if they kill people, it's going to happen fast. It's going to be chaotic and they're going to get the hell out of there. They're not going to take this time to, drag the bodies or kill, it just seems like someone doing something to make it seem like something it isn't.
Or with purpose.
Yeah. Or like make it so over the top that people are talking more about what they saw and stuff. And, I don't know. It just seems weird.
Well, and back in the 70s, today you might think, okay, somebody did that because maybe it washes away evidence, DNA and stuff. But back in the 70s, they didn't really have the pristine, skills to like, I don't know if that's the right word, but
they had basic, fingerprints?
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
Maybe a couple other.
They could do like fiber or hair testing, but it was just really almost like junk science at that point.
Right. That's where you have more of having a talented investigator on your team who, finds these clues and things or leads him in a direction by what he sees. Not so many of the forensic sciences.
Now, here's an odd connection that I just had to bring up because it's so just bizarre. Is Cecil Small, the neighbor. He is the one that had given Troy and Jenny a ride over to the Durham's house. Small happened to be passing through Dallas on November 22nd, 1963, and caught the tail end of the president's motorcade.
Really?
Now, he claims he spied a Hispanic man in the crowd with a poorly concealed rifle. Small, being, unfamiliar with the Dallas area and this parade happening, I guess there was confusion and he didn't really know, where he was going exactly. He pulled over at the now famous book depository to ask for directions.
What the hell?
Now, Cecil says a man asked for a ride, and this man he would later discover was Lee Harvey Oswald. Now, if this is true, then Oswald was not the shooter.
Right, because he caught the tail end of the motorcade, so it hadn't happened yet, correct?
Right, and he's claiming he saw this Hispanic man with a shotgun or a rifle. Now, Cecil stood by this account until his dying day.
Okay.
He told, I guess he went forward to law enforcement. He's for years and years and years told this story. Who knows if he was full of shit or if that's something he really saw. But I just thought that was a really interesting detail.
Well, that is.
That this happened and then he's the guy, and he was also a private investigator. Another rumor swirled that the Green Berets had chosen the Durhams as targets to carry out some sort of training. Like a blitz attack of sorts.
Yeah.
On this family, murder them.
So it's like a Die Hard 2 snowmobiles, white suits, machine guns, attack this fixed position and take. Yeah, I think that's probably the least likely of these crazy scenarios.
Again, rumor.
Yeah.
A sweep of the crime scene did not find any hair evidence. And this is what I thought was interesting, is that the son-in-law, Troy Hall, said on the phone that Virginia Durham claimed they were being attacked by 3 black men.
Okay.
Well, I mean, unless they were wearing like hazmat suits,
Right.
you would think that they would find some hair evidence
Well,
in the house.
there's got to be some kind of a struggle, even if you get the jump on someone and you're strangling them. I mean, that's not easy.
Right? Well, there were no hair fibers anywhere. I guess they have some sort of vacuum where they swept, like, from what I read, they swept the ceiling, carpets, sheets. I mean, just everything in this house.
Okay, so they
and
did.
none of the hair evidence belonged to a black person.
Right. So, yeah, so they had fiber analysis going on, huh? Sounds like they were into it. Maybe it was the hot new thing back then.
Right. And so I just thought that was interesting, considering Troy Hall's account that he had received this phone call and that she said it was like 3 black attackers.
Yeah, and also so he gets this phone call. We're being attacked. She's screaming at him or whatever. So that kind of goes against got the total surprise and jump and control of everyone in the instant, right? That kind of goes against that because she's been able to get to the phone and make a phone call.
And the phone was ripped out of the wall.
You call Troy. Why don't you call the damn police?
Right. And the phone was ripped out of the wall when they got there.
Right.
So, I mean, it could have been possible that she called, they ripped the phone out.
Right.
But if the phone was ripped out of the wall, that almost seems like the first thing. If you've got multiple people invading a home and you're trying to get control of your hostages or your victims, one of the first things you do would be rip out the phone.
Or disable the phone somehow, because back then, you take the phone out of the equation, you've taken all forms or chances of communicating with someone else out of the equation. Just get the phone. That was it. The only option.
Investigators also thought the idea of like homicidal maniacs just lurking in the midst, waiting to find this family during one of the worst storms of the year just made no sense at all.
Nope.
Not to mention how the house was located on top of a hill on a dead-end road and was not easily accessible. The idea that this was just some random killing, like someone's just driving down the highway, hey, let's go rob somebody. This is really not like the first choice, the easiest choice for a house to rob.
Right.
To bust in on.
The other guy would be like, let's go find some obscure location that's hard to access that we have no idea where it's at because we never even noticed it before.
Right. And there was like no tire marks, like someone had been up the road to get to this house. I mean, it's like someone would really have to walk up this really steep incline, passing other homes, other neighbors.
Right.
To get up there.
Right off the road or right next to the road or a busy part of town, busy interstate or anything like that.
Jenny was the sole heir. She inherited about $250,000. Which is still a large amount of money, but in the 70s, definitely a big chunk of change.
Yeah, which I'm sure she could care less about. She had her entire family back.
Other people said it was no secret that her parents didn't like her husband, that the Durhams had been pressuring their daughter to leave Troy Hall. And they were still newlyweds, but I guess there had been some trouble in the marriage. Her parents didn't like him. They didn't think, he's not good enough for their kid, whatever. Now, cops would come out later over the years and say they really didn't think Jenny Hall had any knowledge of this or had anything to do with it, just based on their interviews. And, they just didn't think she was involved.
So possibly Troy got someone to arrange this?
Or that he was part of it, maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, there's speculation. Now, he went on to be an attorney, and I guess he owns a construction business. And from what I understand, recent reports like in the last few years or something is that he lives in Georgia. And I think that Jenny is now remarried. She lives in Washington State, but still has a summer home somewhere here in that region of Boone, Elkin.
So he could have paid for his lawyer schooling and stuff with that fucking money.
Well, I don't know. She and Troy divorced a few years after this happened.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I don't know if he got any of the divorce, any of the money in the divorce settlement. But, there are just a lot of people out there who think he could have potentially been involved. A lot of people think that she was involved because she was set to inherit a lot of money as the sole survivor. Again, all rumor and speculation. We don't know. I'm just sort of presenting all the theories, all the facts as I have them, because it's such an unusual case.
Well, yeah, there's going to be theories because that just doesn't seem, that's not straightforward in the least bit.
Right. And so many things about the murders are just so off.
It doesn't make
stage
sense.
robbery.
I'm surprised.
The drowning. I mean, there's just